All right, guys, I'm going to explain to you how to find mean absolute deviation. This value just kind of helps you to see how accurate your data is. So we're going to start with a data example. So ready, set. All right, here's some data that I made up. It is the maximum speed of roller coasters. So it just means that some roller coaster goes a maximum of 58 miles an hour, 88, 40, 60, so on and so forth. All right, step one is going to be find the mean. Now remember, the mean is the same thing as the average. And just your reminder of how to find the average right here, you add up all of your numbers and divide by how many numbers there are. So I'm going to take my data, and I'm going to add all the numbers together. And please use your calculator when you are doing this. So there's all my numbers. I'm going to add them all up, and then I'm going to take that amount and divide by how many numbers there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it'll be dividing by 8. And with the movie magic that I have, I can tell you that this answer is 64. So the mean, or the average, of this data set is 64. And step one is done. And that means we're ready for step two. All right, you need to determine how far each number is from the mean. Simple way to do that is you're going to take each one of these original numbers and subtract the mean. So my original number was 58, and we're going to subtract 64, and I get -6. You're going to do this with every single piece of data. So real quick, ready, set, go. Bam, they're there. So these are each how far the original number is from our mean or our average. Now, since we're talking about distance and how far the number is, you can't have a negative distance. So we're just going to ignore all of our negatives. And we're going to say 58 is 6 units away from 64. Just ignore the negatives. And that's it for step two. Well, actually, let's write a note. Ignore negatives. Hopefully that'll help you remember. And now we're ready for step three. All right, for step three, you're going to average your distances. So you're going to take these numbers that you just found, you're going to ignore the negatives, and you're going to add them all up. So ignoring the negatives, instead of -6, we're just going to do 6. We're going to add all of these up and just pretend like none of them are negative. We would add them all up and divide by how many numbers there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You would get 12.5, and that would be your mean absolute deviation. Now you're thinking, what's the whole point? Why is this number important? The reason it's important is your mean absolute deviation is telling you, on average, how far each number is from the mean. What that tells us, if our mean absolute deviation is really big, that means all of our numbers are really, really spread out, and my average is probably not really accurate. But if this number is really small, then that means all my numbers are really, really close to each other, and there's a good chance that my average is a lot more accurate. Mean absolute deviation, you follow these 3 steps, and that is it. On the STAR test, every year they have one question over mean absolute deviation, and there's not like a tricky way to ask it. They just say, find the mean absolute deviation of these numbers or of this data. So there's no tricks to it. You just remember your 3 steps, mean absolute deviation, and you got it. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.